Rebels in Sudan attacked a peacekeeping base over the weekend, killing at least 10 soldiers who were there to help protect the public. Whether it's death in Darfur or AIDS in South Africa, it seems like little good comes from that continent these days. Several countries there struggle to come up with a civil society. There's no shortage of help from governments, from nonprofits, and from people like you and me. But there's no shortage of problems either. So the question, can this be solved? Here's IAFR correspondent Jam Sardar with more on the challenges facing a rock star and the rest of the world when it comes to saving Africa.
What do you think of when you hear the word Africa? For some, it brings to mind images of starving children. For others, it's the devastation wrought by disease. For a final group, it's death and destruction, like the slaughter in Sudan. In one way, it's not fair to lump more than 50 different nations together and act like they've all got the same problems, but it's not much of a stretch to say that most of the continent faces some sort of political, social, economic, or humanitarian crisis.
There are very few parts of sub-Saharan Africa that are doing very well, and part of the problem is they have a combination of different problems.
And University of Pennsylvania Professor Jeff Weintraub says focusing on any one of them, like stopping the spread of malaria or AIDS, won't be enough to help any of them.
It's too easy to say they have just economic problems or they have humanitarian problems because they're all connected. There's a range of problems, and it's foolish to think that in the long run, you can solve any one of them without solving the rest.
And Data co-founder Bono.
That's where a rock star takes the stage. Founded by the lead singer of the group U2, Bono has also used his voice to help solve the problems and end the suffering on the continent of almost 1 billion. His group's name is an acronym for the words death, AIDS, trade, Africa. And his efforts to tackle those wide range of problems are what won him the prestigious Liberty Medal.
Because when you are trapped by poverty, you are not free. When trade laws prevent you from selling the food you grow, you are not free. When you are dying of a mosquito bite for lack of a bed net, you are not free. When you are hungry in a world of plenty, you are not free.
Using his rock star status, Bono has convinced nations to forgive millions of dollars in debts and the people of those nations to donate millions more. But all the donations in the world won't help if African nations can't get the food to the hungry, the medicine to the sick, and stop the violence and corruption.
It's easy to see pictures of people starving and think that you can send food, but that's a short-term thing. In the long run, they have to be able to produce their own food or produce other things to keep them going.
That's why the one-time finance minister of Nigeria says she's so grateful for the rock star's efforts.
And one wonderful thing that this organization and that Bono has done is to recognize the essential wish of Africans to do for themselves and to support their aspirations to take care of the improvement of their own lives.
And while life is improving for millions of men, women, and children, Bono and anyone who knows anything about Africa knows millions more continue to suffer. They also know it's an uphill struggle and a challenge they can't ignore.
I think it would be wrong to be foolishly optimistic about sub-Saharan Africa or to pretend that the solutions are easy, but from what I know, it would also be quite wrong to think that its situation is hopeless.
Is the situation hopeless? That's where we began. And Jam, you know, rock stars have taken on causes before. We've seen this many times. And yes, they bring several things to the table. They bring attention and visibility. Absolutely. They can bring coalitions, new people to the movement. And they can bring money, which is very, very important. So it seems as though Bono is really into this, not just this was his cause to do something for now.
And this is more than a fad. He's been working on these problems for decades. If you'll remember the Live Aid, the Live 8, he's been working on this for a very long time. You talk about bringing people together. One of the things Bono has been able to do extraordinarily well is work with the right and the left, with Democrats and Republicans here in the United States. He's friends with Jesse Helms. He had warm words of support for President Bush, the current one, not just the father who you saw sitting on the stage with him, because one of the things, like him or not, this President Bush has been good at is helping the people of Africa, and Bono has used that to the fullest extent he can.
Well, again, that speaks to what we said, bringing coalitions, bringing attention, bringing money to this cause. As Bono talks about this, Does he feel that he'll be successful at the next level? Certainly he's being awarded for what he's done so far, but everyone acknowledges that there is much more to be done.
There certainly is. There's more money to be raised. There's more work to be done. This is not a problem that's going to be solved in the next 5 or 10 or 20 years. This is something we're talking about generations, and depending on the state. There are some states that really lack governments at this point, and Sudan and Darfur is probably the best example of that. So it's a long-term problem. We need some long-term solutions, but Bono is raising the money. He's trying to get the help from the West to relieve some of the debts that frees up the resources in those countries. But as we heard, it's going to take those countries getting themselves together, getting on board, and making this happen. And that's one of the things that he does, is help Africans help themselves.
Well, I wrote down the acronym for his company, DATA. Was it Debt, AIDS, Trade in Africa?
Absolutely.
Very, very clever.
Which shows that you have to tackle all the problems. You can't focus on just one.
Very interesting. Jam, thanks. And good luck to Bono and for all who were involved in that cause.